Good evening and welcome to Her Health, Her Power, Elevating Women's Health from the Inside Out, presented by blackdoctor.org. I'm Shamika Rhymes and I am honored to be here to kick off tonight's Women's Health Summit with our first panel, Glow and Grow, Caring for Black Skin and Hair. And obviously, May is Women's Health Month, and it's a time to spotlight the unique health needs of women, especially Black women, and empower us to take charge of our wellness from the inside out. So, tonight we're starting with skin and hair. Those are two deeply personal parts of our identity that deserve intentional care and expert guidance. So, we're going to talk about everything from hyperpigmentation and protective styles to sunscreen and scalp health. We're going to unpack the myths, highlight the truths, and offer some practical advice so that you can nurture your Black beauty in all forms, right? So remember to share this with your network. And if you have any questions at all tonight, please drop it in the chat and allow me to introduce you to tonight's panel. We've got a great lineup. So tonight we're also joined by Dr. Dina Strawn. She's an award-winning board-certified dermatologist. Hello, Dr. Strawn.
Good evening. Great to be here.
Good to see you again. We've got Dr. Heather Woolery Lloyd. She's a board certified dermatologist, and she is also the founder of Derm Friends. Hello.
Hello. Good to be here.
Good to see you again. And we've got Dr. Alita Simmons. She's a board certified dermatologist in Nashville, Tennessee, one of my favorite places. Welcome.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for being here. And then we've also got Dr. Crystal Cunningham. She's a clinical pharmacist, author, and the founder of Bold Culture Beauty. Welcome.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you all for being here. And for those in the chat, please let us also know where you're watching from tonight as well. So obviously, we've got to kick this off with a question that's for each of you. And so I'm just going to go around the way that I introduced you, starting with you, Dr. Dina, if that's okay, if I can call you Dr. Dina. What does glow and grow mean to each of you, actually, when it comes to Black skin and hair? So Dr. Dina, you're in the hot seat first.
So I would say glow. I mean, my practice is called a glow. So that means a lot to me. That's a sign of just skin health. Healthy skin is beautiful skin. So when your skin is glowing, it's hydrated, there isn't extra buildup on it, it's healthy, you've got a lot of collagen, everything's going right, and it sort of radiates out, and everyone wants their skin to glow. And then in terms of grow, people, growing their hair out can be a sign of health as well. Though I'd say with Black women, we have to also understand too that our hair is different. Afro textured hair is the most unique texture of hair. And so it was designed to break before it hits the shoulders so that we wouldn't overheat. Our ancestors wouldn't overheat back in the day. But, we want to do things to help it grow, but it's also doing what it's supposed to do when it's kind of out and up.
I did not know that. Thank you for that tidbit too. Dr. Heather, how about you? What does glow and grow mean to you?
I agree with Dr. Dina. I think that, that glowing skin is healthy skin. And I also have a huge interest in lifestyle medicine, which is a specialty that focuses on how lifestyle influences our overall health. So I also believe in the glow from the inside out. That means eating all the right foods and getting rest and managing stress and getting enough sleep and all of those things that contribute to our glow. So I wanted to just talk a little bit about how lifestyle influences our skin. And I think that's very, very important to achieving both the glow and the grow.
Yes, absolutely. Dr. Simmons, what does glow and grow mean to you when it comes to Black skin and hair?
I think about it similarly to Dr. Heather, thinking about how you nurture yourself. If you're taking good care of yourself, then your skin is going to glow and your hair is going to be flourishing because you're eating well. You're taking care of things that may be wrong with you, meaning you're making that time for yourself to actually go to the doctor. A lot of Black women will put ourselves to the side and take care of everyone else. But when we take that time to take care of ourselves, to check in and see what we need and then provide ourselves with the things that we need, we're going to glow from the inside out, and things are going to be healthy. Things are going to be moving in the right direction, and people are going to see that.
I love these answers. Dr. Crystal, how about you?
I think all of the ladies have done an amazing job of explaining what glow and grow is. One of the things that you actually said that stood out to me was pointing out how our skin and our hair are an important part of our identity. And when working with my curl friends, as I call them, and other consumers that come into the store, one of the things that I realize and that I've learned is that when we don't feel good about the way our skin or our hair looks, it affects every other aspect of our lives. And I'm a big proponent for the fact that applied knowledge is power. So I believe that glow and grow is that when we have the right resources, the right information, the right access to fact-based, science proven information that works, we can take that knowledge and apply it to our skincare, to our health, to our hair care journeys, and then that we are able to better glow because we have a better understanding of how our hair should look, feel, and behave. We can set our own standards on what beauty is, on what our beauty should look like, on how our hair manifests itself in its natural state, and what makes that beautiful, what makes that professional, what makes that an extension of who we are and our identity. And so I firmly believe in a holistic approach to skin and hair care. I know that how we take care of ourselves manifests in our skin. And so I believe that to glow and to grow is to take that holistic approach, to be empowered, to stand in the fullness of our beauty and who we are, and to allow that to propel us on our journeys to better care for ourselves.
I love all these answers. I love that. And I want to know in the chat, what does it mean to you to glow and grow? Okay, so the next question, and I think because all of you work with skin and hair, so I think that this kind of applies. We'll do the same thing, go around again. So what are the most common skin concerns that you see in Black patients when they come to your office? I'm going to start with Dr. Simmons. What do you see in like for example, like hyperpigmentation, eczema, keloids, sebderm, or if there's some others, and how should those be addressed?
You definitely said some of my top ones. I would say the most common one is acne and hyperpigmentation because they go hand in hand. Anytime brown skin has any type of inflammation in it, it can leave a light spot or most commonly a dark spot behind. I always tell my patients it's like a footprint that something was there before. And we need to treat it with going to the root cause. We have to treat the acne and get acne under control in order to stop the hyperpigmentation from occurring. And often in those acne treatments, we're also addressing that hyperpigmentation. And another one is scalp concerns. You said seborrheic dermatitis, but also put in hair loss. There are several different types of hair loss, and evaluating patients for that is really important. And I'll tell my patients that when you come see me, our goal is to stop the hair loss. And that if we grow any hair, that's like the icing and the cherry on top, right? But what we want to do is stop the process from even occurring. And most of the time, people have more than one type of hair loss that's happening at once. And we talk about those different types, how we treat them. And I'd use a patient-centered approach in saying, you know, how aggressive do you want to be in the beginning? Because with hair loss, it is an emotional journey. And you got to really be in there with the patient, hold their hand and walk them through it, because some people are hesitant and they want to go slow. But then there are other patients that are like, I want to start with everything. Let's be as aggressive as possible. So I'll say those are the most common. And that's like the beginning of my approach to them.
Okay. I think that's an important part that when I was experiencing hair loss because of fibroids and low iron, I didn't even think about a dermatologist then, but I wish I would have, and I probably wouldn't have had to all the emotional roller coaster dealing with it because I didn't know what to do. So I think that's important to know that you can go to your dermatologist to get help for that. Dr. Heather, I know you and I talked about sebderm on Celebration. So what are some other common skin concerns you see in patients?
I also see a lot of hyperpigmentation. That's one of the more common things I see in my practice. A lot of people are sometimes referred to me for complicated skin disorders where the skin is either lighter than the normal skin or darker than the normal skin, hyperpigmentation or hypopigmentation. And you know what's really I'm seeing a lot of is just people curious about skincare. I think that with TikTok and Instagram and all of this social media education online, some good, some not so good. Patients are really curious. And I get a lot of times people will come in for something and then say, okay, but what should I use on my skin? So it's something that is, I think, increasing, like compared to 10 years ago. Questions about general skincare were not as common as they are right now. So I definitely have seen an increase in that. And of course, scalp hair and scalp disorders, I definitely see a lot of that. We did talk a lot about sebderm, which is, I think, something that we didn't used to talk about much in the past. That's the scaling or dandruff on the scalp that people get. It's an inflammatory skin condition that's very, very common in Black women and a very common complaint in my practice. So I think we all are seeing similar things.
I think so. And Dr. Dina, you and I talked about hair loss. What other things do you see like patients coming in with what they need addressed?
Well, I would add seborrheic dermatitis is very big. Pretty much everyone has it who comes in. They may not have come in for it, but we find it when I examine them. And it's just important to remember, too, that in addition to what Dr. Heather was saying, it's a scalp disorder, but it also appears in other parts of the body, particularly on the face, around the eyebrows, around the nose, ears, sometimes on the chest. And in African-American patients, sometimes they don't recognize it as a rash. The rash that it is, they will complain that they have dry skin and that nothing works for it. Or they may just come in with discoloration as the presenting problem with seborrheic dermatitis. So that's important to remember, that if you're using lotion and it's not working, lotion generally works. So you probably have a rash. Mm-hmm. And then another thing I see a lot of is this central centrifugal cicatricial alopecia, or CCCA, which is that type of hair loss that's more common in African-American women. I see a lot of, general things like acne in Black women, and atopic dermatitis, eczema. And that is actually more common in Black patients for a variety of reasons. And it causes a lot of discoloration. And often, it's not recognized. I can't say I see a lot of, but I end up picking up lupus that people were not figuring out, and just sort of having a nose for the fact that that is more common in African Americans. And when the rash isn't responding or looking how people think it would, and there's something a little different, think about something a little bit different. So those are things I see more commonly in keloids, which we are more prone to.
Mm-hmm. Dr. Crystal, what do you, I'm not, and I'm sorry, but I don't know if you have like an actual practice. I know you're a clinical pharmacist. So have you heard of any complaints from patients when it comes to their skin and hair?
So just a little background on what Bold Culture Beauty is. We are a natural hair focused beauty retailer, educator, and salon. Actually, our cosmetic pharmacy is a thing that is in the work, but we do have a lot of clients that come into the salon to get their hair done, whose obviously concerns are things like hair loss, if they have any skin and scalp conditions, eczema, dry skin that they can't seem to find a solution for. Those are things that we often notice, and the common concerns that they may have. And a lot of the things that we're able to do, or the opportunities that we have. Since I am a clinical pharmacist, I have worked in the hospital setting the majority of all of my career, actually. I've been residency trained. So when I hear people talking about different things, different issues that they're having, I am able to then better direct them in which way they should go, or if they need to actually seek additional medical care. One of the things that I'm always telling them is, have you found a dermatologist? Have you talked to your doctor? Are you just bringing this up to me? Or have you noticed this before? And at what point are you that maybe we can do some things together that we can intervene on? Or is it a point where you actually need to take that next step and seek that additional medical attention? So we do get a lot of questions. I think it's interesting that a lot of times in the salon, we might be that first step to getting them to take the additional steps that they need to seek out medical care and to get the attention and help that they need. And every salon and retail owner is not a pharmacist, so they might not be aware of some of the things that I'm aware of. But as a woman that has fibroids, that suffer from anemia, that's been through a lot of things, I can also listen to those symptoms, and that's also been clinically trained, I can also listen to those symptoms and tell them, hey, you need to go see a doctor, or maybe these are some things that you can consider.
Okay, well, that brings me to my next question. And I'm just going to throw it out there and whoever wants to jump in. But what products or ingredients should Black women avoid or embrace in their skincare routines? Because we, like Dr. Heather mentioned, we see a lot of stuff on TikTok and we're like, what works, what doesn't?
Well, one thing I think that people should avoid are those abrasive sort of walnut shell scrubs. I know that those can be popular off and on, but those actually damage the skin. The way they exfoliate, they use it to exfoliate the skin. You should use something smooth or gentle if it's a physical exfoliating product, or acids or enzymes, but not something sharp and jagged like walnut shell.
I totally agree. I think that people tend to over exfoliate. I think after I, sometimes give a patient a very, very detailed skincare routine, a common question is, but when do I exfoliate? And I always try to say, exfoliation is, first of all, not everyone needs to exfoliate. If you have eczema, if you have very dry, sensitive skin, exfoliation will damage your skin barrier, and you really aren't a candidate for exfoliation. You should really be focused on moisturization and hydration versus exfoliation. But some people can benefit from it, but definitely no one benefits from walnut scrubs because they really do tear. They cause little micro tears in the skin. And then I would say something that we should all look for, and I know this sounds cliche, but it's sunscreen. That should be the number one part of your skincare routine, because if you're concerned about hyperpigmentation, dark spots, and uneven skin tone, that's the number one thing you can do to prevent that.
Okay. Did anyone else want to weigh in on that?
I will say that one of the things that I think is a big topic now, especially for Black women, is the more information that is coming out about endocrine disruptors and some of the products that they are taking, especially women that may be suffering from fibroids, PCOS, and other conditions that are affected by hormonal imbalances. So one of the things that I know there's a bunch of different resources that people can use to scan labels. I also tell them to be informed and intentional. Everything that shows up on that product scanner, some of it is going to scare you, but take the additional step to understand what these ingredients are, why they may be harmful to you, and then how making the right decision between products can be impactful. And then a lot of times I interact with people that like heavy fragrances in some of their skincare and hair care, and that's not always the best option or the best choice, especially if they have sensitive skin or sensitivities. So just making sure that clients and customers are aware, one, of the impact of endocrine disruptors from now braiding hair to skincare to hair care products, and then also being more informed about what their skin actually needs and what their skin can tolerate when choosing products.
Yeah, that's a great point.
And I would just add, on top of that, it's related, patients with eczema. So going beyond sensitive skin to patients who actually have disease on their skin, eczema can make you more sensitive to being allergic to other things. And one of the top things is fragrance. And fragrance is in everything and everywhere. And I tell my patients with eczema to look at everything that you come in contact with and see if we can make it fragrance free. From the hand soap that you wash with at home, at work, at school, what you're putting in the washer to wash your clothes. Are you using fabric softener that's fragranced in the dryer? What is in your shower? We will actually walk through the shower and say, okay, what's in there? Let's see if it's fragrance free. And don't be fooled by unscented, because unscented is a fragrance. Even though it says unscented, it's not fragrance free. So look for things that say fragrance free so that you're able to help your skin and not further irritate it.
Okay. I do see we have a question. Andrea Hall Rawsell, I'm sorry I'm messing your name up, but she wants to know, do you see an increase in self-care as far as skincare goes among minorities, especially with skin cancer in Black people? So anybody want to take on that question?
I saw an increase in people wanting to know more about skincare around COVID, because everybody was on Zoom, and now we have a zoomed in view of our faces, and everybody's picking apart every little thing on their face and they want to fix it. I haven't noticed that increase in terms of skin cancer, but people wanting to just get their moles checked to make sure
Mhm.
their moles are okay. So I have seen a little bit of increase in that, but people coming in to ask about skin cancer specifically, I haven't.
Okay.
I haven't seen the skin cancer question, but as a retailer, I have seen a lot of people come in interested in taking better care of their skin, especially in light of all of the social media attention that comes to different skincare routines and seeing influencers that we like or people that we admire who have beautiful skin, and then they want to know what they're using, how they're using it. Can I use those things as well? Not so much in relation to cancer, but people are more concerned about their appearance, and a lot of that did come with the uptick of when we were shut down during COVID and not able to uh, go in to places that we needed to. So then trying to DIY a lot of things or handle things on our own was
Mhm.
a common occurrence.
Mhm. Dr. Dina, you look like you wanted to say something.
In my practice, I'd say that my Black patients are probably more concerned about using sunscreen and skin cancer relative to their risk, to get it, which is lower than my white patients. So Black people seem to be very aware about sunscreen now. That is my experience in New York.
Well, that brings me to the next question, talking about sun protection. I remember I went to cheer camp and I had no idea because nobody told me back then that I should have put on sunscreen. And we were outside all day and then I'm skin peeling, no clue. But now I wear it. But what's the truth that people should know about sunscreen, especially because of our skin? And Dr. Heather, you mentioned a little bit about it earlier, so I'll start with you.
Yes, well, I think that when we think about sunscreen, sunscreen has many different uses. So, of course, it prevents against sunburns, which you got sunburned in cheer camp, many, many years ago. And it protects against skin cancers. But a huge part for my practice, which has a lot of people with cosmetic concerns, it protects against hyperpigmentation.
Mhm.
So if you're not motivated by preventing sunburn or preventing other things, most people are motivated by preventing hyperpigmentation, and I'm in a very sunny climate. I practice in Miami, so I'm basically in a tropical climate, and sun protection really becomes so important, especially anywhere, but especially where I practice when I'm managing people with dark spots, uneven skin tone, and hyperpigmentation. So I think that sunscreen is really important for many different reasons. But if you're not really motivated to wear sunscreen, but you do really care about, how even your skin tone is long term with regular use, sunscreen will prevent that hyperpigmentation that does tend to develop with age in people with darker skin tones.
Okay. Does anyone else want to tackle What is there a difference between sunscreen and sunblock? I guess that might be a helpful answer too. I don't know if there's a difference.
Well, they used to use the term sunblock. Sunblock was a term that the FDA stopped using it several
Okay.
years ago because they didn't want people to think that putting this cream on your skin completely blocked the sun. So now on the label, you will only see the word sunscreen, although a lot of times people will use the two interchangeably. I might even say that. But in general, we don't use the word sunblock because it's a little misleading. Nothing completely blocks the sun, but it does help to reduce the amount of harmful rays to reach the skin.
Okay. Okay.
And
Oh, go ahead. I'm
I,
sorry.
I would just add one of the things that I guess we should point out is that even though our skin is melanated, it is beneficial for us to use sunscreen. I think a lot of people that I encounter in the store, or even when I'm telling people you need to put on sunscreen, they're like, oh, your skin's fair. You might need it, but I have a darker skin tone. I don't need it. But the reality is, it is still beneficial to all of us, regardless of what spectrum you're on, with the amount of melanin that you have in your skin. So I think that's something very important to point out. I remember when we were in the hospital, we would do skin cancer screenings for patients, for employees, for people in the community. And that's one of the things that always stood out. People think that they don't need it, but there is benefit, as Dr. Heather pointed out, to actually, even when your skin is melanated, continuing to use sunscreen or starting to use sunscreen in the first place.
Now, for those that are going to the store looking for sunscreen, because I know I had the issue, I was like, what number? What, all the numbers are confusing. Can someone explain that? Like, what should we be getting for our skin? Anyone want to
I would
tackle
say at
that
least
one?
SPF. I would say at least SPF 30.
Okay.
For your everyday, day-to-day use. And I tell people if it's a day where you're working by the window or you're going to be outside all day, that you still want to reapply your sunscreen every couple of hours. And maybe even more frequently if you're playing sports, working out, or in the water, because it's just the sweat and water is just going to make it wash off. And then I also recommend, if we are battling hyperpigmentation, looking for a sunscreen that is tinted, that has like iron oxide in it, because those types of sunscreens can help battle hyperpigmentation a little better. But the key is finding a sunscreen that you will actually use. You like the way it feels on your skin, and you'll put it on.
I agree. I always say the best sunscreen is the sunscreen you want to put on every single day. So I can recommend sunscreens all day, but if you go home and you put it on and you don't love it, and I think it's the best sunscreen on earth, it doesn't really matter. So it's really important to find a formula that you love, that you like how it feels. If you have dry skin, it's hydrating. If you have oily skin, it's mattifying. There's not one perfect sunscreen. There's just one perfect sunscreen for you. So I think that's a very good point, is to find a sunscreen that you absolutely love, because you want to put it on every single day.
Thank you. So let's talk about skincare myths in the Black community. We always have these myths floating around, and then I think with social media, sometimes the ball gets rolling even bigger. So this is a question for each of you, but what is one major skincare myth in the Black community that you just want to squash for good? Like, you want to just toss it out of here. Dr. Dina, let's start with you.
Can we include hair too?
Yes, we will include hair.
That dirty hair helps it grow.
Oh yeah, I've heard that one.
Like that. It causes inflammation on your scalp, which actually is negative for hair growth and will make you get seborrheic dermatitis. It's, dirty hair. There's no benefit to having dirty hair. You don't want to. One of the things we have to be careful is that we need our scalps cleaned, because the oil accumulates because our hair is curly and it doesn't slide down the hair, so our hair is dry. So we want to wash more really for our scalp and our hair a little bit less, because it dries it out and that will make it break more. But we don't want it to be dirty. We want it to be clean and well moisturized.
I am so glad you said that. I've known people that would be like, I'm not washing my hair and it's been 6 months. That's another story.
Once a week, I tell people to try to aim for once a week. If you can't do once a week, once every 2 weeks. If you're dandruff prone, make sure you're using a dandruff shampoo, because maybe that'll allow you to not flare up if you wash it once every 2 weeks.
Okay. All right. Dr. Simmons, what's that one skincare myth or hair myth that you want to squash?
There's so many that are coming to my mind, but one of them that's sticking out is, we always say Black don't crack.
Mm-hmm.
But it can. We are, so diverse, and we may have seen our grandmothers, 80 without wrinkles, but then, our mothers may have wrinkles and didn't know what to do about them. But we also sag, right? So we think that everybody is going to age gracefully and look like Angela Bassett, and that's not the case for everybody, but it puts so much pressure on Black women to maintain this Black don't crack phenomenon, right? And, one thing is that, we can age gracefully. And if you are somebody who wants to enhance the way that you look, there are ways to do that. But also, in terms of having a dermatologist on your side, you may need a plastic surgeon, because we may not crack as much, but we lose volume in our face as we age, and our skin will start to look droopy or sag. And sometimes, you might just need to lift it, pull it a little tighter to get the look that you want. So I think we should just relieve some of that pressure about black not cracking because we are still alive and living and aging gracefully.
I like that. I like that. As I was sitting here, like, I'll be doing my chin yoga and everything else. Dr. Crystal, how about you? What's that one thing you want to squash?
Think one of the things, well, Dr. Dina touched on one of the things that I was already thinking about, but the other thing is that there is this magic pill, potion, or something that you can put on your hair to cause it to grow overnight, and that you're going to have the same amount of hair that you saw that influencer have when she said she used that oil. And I know I'll probably catch some flack for it because we are committed to these products because we have a hope and a dream that they're going to work this miracle out in our lives. But I want people to know and understand that, first of all, hair growth is not, or your approach to improving or bettering hair growth is not going to be found solely in a bottle. Our hair grows. That's part of its job. In addition to protecting our scalp and our skin on our body, the hair grows, but we have to make sure that we're intentional about the practices that we're incorporating when it comes to caring for that hair on the scalp, the food that we're ingesting, making sure that we are properly nourished, that we're properly taking care of our body, that we're getting the appropriate amount of rest, that we're eliminating stress. So, hair growth is literally like a holistic approach to making sure that we're taking care of ourselves. And when we take care of ourselves, then our hair is able to freely do what it does naturally, which is grow. And so I think that is something important to point out. And when it is at that point of almost no return, that hair oil is not going to do anything for you to save it. So seek help early on, and remember that there is no magic potion that's just going to make that hair grow at a rapid extent.
So I'm going to go take those drops out of my cart. I know what you're talking about.
Well, I'm not saying that there aren't some benefits to some of those ingredients, but to the extent and at the rate that people want to see the growth, it's just, I hate to bust their bubble, but if it were that, it would probably be prescription, and it would probably be way more expensive. So,
right.
Expectation management.
Yes. Dr. Heather, what about you? What's that one myth that you want to throw out? Tell people to forget it. It's not happening.
Summer's coming up, so I have to mention this because this is something that people commonly do. There is this myth that putting lemon on your skin helps with hyperpigmentation and dark spots. And every once in a while, and especially in the summer, I will see videos on, I'm going to put lemon all over my skin at night, or, do something where they put lemon on the skin. And lemon actually, when it interacts with sunlight, can cause something called a phytophotodermatitis, which is basically it interacts with the sunlight and causes a severe allergic reaction on the skin. So it can cause, in the worst case, blisters, but more commonly hyperpigmentation. So at-home remedies, I am a big holistic person, and as I mentioned, I am board certified in lifestyle medicine, but at-home remedies, I think sometimes are not helpful at all, like, some of these things that we've been talking about earlier, but also can do harm. And so never, ever apply lemon to your skin and go out in the sun, because that can cause blisters or more commonly hyperpigmentation. And I see people who come in with this all the time, just kind of home remedies and trying to do stuff that maybe a dermatologist would better handle at home. When people do that, they often run into problems.
Okay. Y'all had some good ones, some good myths that y'all debunked tonight. Thank you for that. We do have a question in the chat from Tanisha Lawrence. She says she has sebderm and she finds that most acids irritate her face. Are there any acids that are less irritating for people with dry skin conditions, or should we avoid them altogether? Who wants to take that one?
I'll just say one quick thing. Mandelic acid is larger than glycolic acid. The size of the molecule is larger, so it doesn't penetrate, and it's the one that someone is most likely to be able to tolerate if they have sensitive skin. So I did want to mention that, but I also wanted to mention, if you have dry, sensitive skin, you might not have to use an acid. You might just want to focus on hydration and moisturization, and that in and of itself might make your skin quality better.
I would add that if you have sebderm, Your skin is actually oily, not dry, and that it's the perception of dryness because it's scaling, you have a rash, and that you need to treat your seborrheic dermatitis before you put anything on it. I would say I use more aggressive retinoids. I tend to go straight for the strong one, and most of my patients have seborrheic dermatitis, and I have them treat the seborrheic dermatitis first before we start, and then they can tolerate very strong things.
Yeah, that's a great point. Once you treat an inflammatory skin condition and you get your skin into a more healthy state, you are able to tolerate things differently because now your skin barrier has been restored.
Thank you. So we mentioned a little bit about the washing the hair once a week, but how can we protect our scalp health while wearing popular styles like braids, wigs, the lace fronts, weaves, all those protective styles that are out here? Dr. Dean, I'm going to start with you.
I would go back to make sure you shampoo your scalp. A lot of times people are wearing protective styles for long periods of time, and that doesn't mean that you can sort of neglect taking care of your hair or your scalp. It's really the scalp I'm worried about with the shampooing, because it does cause seborrheic dermatitis if you don't shampoo, which causes inflammation, which can affect hair growth. So scalp health affects hair health. So make sure you figure out a way, if you're going to wear that protective style for long periods of time, that you're able to clean your scalp.
Okay. Anyone else want to weigh in on that?
No, I think that what Dr. Dina said was good. I said making sure that you are still finding ways to cleanse that scalp while the hair is in that protective style, and then also ensuring that at the point of getting that style, you are not adding too much tension to the hair, because that can result in multiple issues and with hair loss, breakage, inflammation in the scalp. And so you just want to make sure that you are working with somebody that is skilled and intentional about preserving the integrity of your hair and your scalp, and that you're also able to cleanse that scalp while you have those styles in.
Okay.
Rotating styles can also be helpful. Going in between styling your hair versus braids and then doing a different style after that, instead of take the braids out, put the braids back in, you're putting tension in the same pattern, switching your hairstyle, also having your hair out. What people used to say back in the day, let your hair breathe, let it breathe, take a break in between. And that also helps, because the longer you have a tension style in, the more breakage and damage that you can have. So like Dr. Crystal said, having a great stylist who's really into hair care and healthy scalps is going to help you preserve your hair while you try out different styles, because that's what also makes us unique, is that we love to do so many different things with our hair, but we need to do it in a safe way that's also preserving our crown.
Yeah, and
I was sorry. I was just going to say that's such a good point, is finding a stylist who respects your hair and scalp. You know, Dr. Crystal, your organization or your business is so important, because I do have patients where they come in and their hair, it's too tight. It's just too, it like breaks my heart. Like, you know, when I see the braids so tight that it, like, there's pustules sometimes at the base of the hair follicle or little pus bumps because the hairstyle is too tight. So definitely find a dermatologist that you love, and find a stylist who cares about your hair as much as you do, genuinely.
Right. And we actually encourage our clients to the amount of time. Well, we also don't encourage them to keep that style in more than like 6 weeks, but the amount of time you have it in is the amount of time you should have it out. And as you prepare for that protective style, there are certain things you can do from a hair care standpoint that will kind of help strengthen the hair, that will kind of help prepare the scalp. And as you take that style out, there's those same things that you can do on the back end that will actually help strengthen and care for that scalp as well. So we encourage those activities so that they aren't just repeatedly damaging the hair.
Now, Dr. Heather, you just mentioned this, and I think this would be a great question, is for those that are thinking, oh, maybe I do need to look for a dermatologist, but what should one be looking for? I mean, should it be because I'm Black, I should find a Black dermatologist, or what should be the number one thing that people should look for? Anyone can take that question.
Yeah, I think that it's important to find someone who specializes in what your concern is. So if you have a hair concern, find a doctor who's very skilled in managing hair diseases in Black women. Most of my colleagues feel very comfortable in managing hair disease in Black women. So the doctor doesn't necessarily have to be Black, but it's very important that the person feels 100% comfortable, 100%. I'm really emphasizing that, comfortable in treating a hair or scalp condition in Black women. If your number one concern is hyperpigmentation, make sure you're seeing someone who's kind of focused, understands this, and is up to date on what the new products are and how they work and so forth. So I think it's very important to find a doctor who's genuinely skilled in what your number one concern is. With that approach, I guess the best way to do that, there are a lot of resources. There's the Skin of Color Society has, for dermatologists specifically, has a list of dermatologists who feel very comfortable in treating certain skin conditions in people of color. And even in their list, they'll list their specific specialties within our specialty, because some people might love skincare. Some people might prefer to see more hair care. So that's a resource that I think can be helpful.
And I would add that you want to make sure that if you're seeing a dermatologist, that if you can, see a board certified dermatologist. Not everyone who calls themselves is a dermatologist is a dermatologist or even a doctor. And there is a huge difference in the training and exposure. And, we have a lot of that in New York. It's very competitive here. And, I see a lot of patients who've seen many people, and I can tell they didn't see a board certified dermatologist when they come in, because how they were managed just was not what I would expect from a board certified dermatologist. So, sometimes it's fine, but, if you're having trouble and you're not getting better, if you want to go to someone who's actually trained at the top of the training to help you with your problem, particularly for skin of color, because, many people are not trained in skin of color. We have an issue in dermatology where we're the second least diverse specialty. And so, we've been doing a lot of work for diversity, equity, and inclusion, which not everybody supports, and not everybody knows how to take care of our hair and our skin, even if they're board certified. So they have to respect the fact that there are differences and know what they are and understand them and know how to give us excellent care that is tailored to our needs.
Right. I actually did a study in that years ago. In 2008, I published a study that looked at dermatology residencies. And at that time, over 50% of residencies didn't have what we would consider adequate skin of color education. And then that study was repeated. And I was just looking for it recently because I was writing something up, and it was repeated. And it's still just under 50% of residencies get what we would consider a good skin of color curriculum. So it's very important that that person is 100% comfortable in treating Black, hair disorders, skin disorders. And I think it's particularly, important for hair disorders.
Absolutely. This conversation's been so good. As we wrap up, and I'm going to ask each of you this question, but what is one daily practice that you recommend to those watching for, so they can glow and grow, so they can have glowing skin and or growing healthy hair? So Dr. Crystal, I'll start with you.
Okay. One daily practice, I know. One daily practice. I think one of the things that I encourage my clients and customers to do is to be gracious with themselves. I think there should be a balance between expectations and our reality. Part of that comes from taking the time to be intentional about understanding the unique characteristics of your hair and your skin and what is right for you, what is appropriate for you, and then setting your expectation based on that, and then being gracious as you work through the process of reaching that goal, whatever that goal has been that you've set for yourself. So I think one daily thing that you can do, because in hair care, you might not necessarily need to do something every day, but one thing that you can do on this journey as we continue to glow and grow is to be gracious with ourselves through that process of becoming or reaching that goal that we want to reach.
That's a good one, because we tend to be hard on ourselves. So I like that. Dr. Simmons, how about you? What's one daily practice you recommend?
Eat your protein. Protein is going to help in lots of different ways for your skin and your hair. It's one of those building blocks that we need, and we often don't get enough protein. So monitor how much protein you're getting in a day and just, try a little bit every day to make sure you're getting enough.
I feel like I'm on the right path. Thank you for that one. Dr. Heather, how about you?
I was thinking of so many, but I think they all boil down to managing stress. So have something in your practice. I walk outside every single morning, outside in nature. And I think that that is so important for our overall well-being. I call it a form of moving meditation. And that definitely will reflect in your skin and in your hair if we manage our stress. So I just think we do live in such stressful times. And it's very important to disconnect on a regular basis, ideally every single day. And if you can't make it outside, I'm in this very sunny climate, beautiful weather all year. But if you can't make it outside, even just doing something at home where you disconnect, a regular disconnect, if it's a guided meditation or something that you do at home, but definitely helping to manage stress will make your skin glow for sure.
I love that. Dr. Dina.
I would say for both your skin and your hair, moisture. As we get older, the last stage of skin aging is that we start to get dry. We literally get, dried out. And dry skin is an inflamed state, which can affect the rest of your body. They've done studies comparing people in their 50s, the inflammatory markers in their blood in 50-year-olds versus 35-year-olds. And then they'd have the 50-year-olds moisturize, and their inflammatory markers would drop down to the level that the 35-year-olds had after they moisturized regularly. So that's very important because it'll probably have other health benefits that we don't know about yet. And then again, with curly, kinky hair, dryness is what causes our hair to break. That's what we struggle with. So make sure you're moisturizing your hair.
I thought drink your water was going to be an answer for someone. I throw that in the moisturize part too.
You've got to seal the water in.
Yeah. Well, this has been such a great conversation. I want to thank each of you. It was great to see you. I learned a lot, and it looks like they learned a lot in the chat. I see a lot of thank you very much, and these were beautiful answers. So thank you for joining us for this amazing panel on skin and hair and glow and grow and all the things. For more information on caring for your skin and hair, you can also head over to blackdoctor.org. There's lots of resources and articles there. And we are going to continue celebrating Women's Health Month. And so the conversations don't end here. We've got a full-packed evening. Up next at 6 o'clock, we're diving into the critical topic about reproductive health and disparities in fertility. So you want to make sure you stick around for that. So thank you again for joining us. Have a good evening.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.